I'm sure you've seen this kind of title doing the rounds on YouTube, and I haven't watched any of these videos, but of course I've stolen the title because it is a fascinating topic. It's something that I think about a lot because I'm a mother. What would I say to my 15-year-old son when he gets older, when he turns to me for advice? And so I'm approaching this title and this topic on YouTube as coming from a mother's heart. What would I tell my son if he asked me, Mom, tell me everything you know? You're so wise. You're 46. What have you learned in the 35 plus years? Let's say since I was old enough to start learning. But I mean, you learn from the minute you are born, although you're not conscious that you are learning. So I have learned over 46 years of being alive on planet Earth. What I've learned, the first thing I can say for sure, guaranteed from my heart, and you will learn this too, but I didn't know this when I was young, is that you cannot change anyone. When I was in my 20s and even in my 30s, I kept holding on to that hope that I could change people. I could, just by loving them enough, by inspiring change, by pushing them to change, by begging them to change, by, I don't know, by twisting myself up in pretzels, I would hope that they would change. I mean, like all youngsters in relationships, I dated people that were not suitable for me. And I kept thinking, if only I could change that one thing, if only they would be like this, if only they could do that. You can't change anyone. And I think if you are over 40, my regular viewers, you guys probably know this already. So I don't want to hammer that point home, but I do think for the younger people watching, and I hope there are some young people watching, you really cannot change your partner, your parents, your siblings, your family, your friends, in fact, anyone. They might be inspired to change by watching you, or they'll probably be inspired to change by watching someone on YouTube, to be honest, somebody who they think is cool, somebody who they think is a figure worth looking up to. Like so many people have been inspired by Goggins. I know he's divisive. You either love him or hate him, but that kind of person inspires change. Oh, many people inspire change. I mean, Oprah inspired so many of us. I think many of us here on YouTube have been inspired by Oprah. We all want to talk and earn money. So that is the other thing, is that you can be inspired by someone, but what they do won't always apply to you. And so even me giving advice here right now on YouTube, I know that most people don't take advice. So what is the point of doing this video? What is the point of giving advice? It's just to try and be helpful, to share what I know. So what I know is that also most older people, just because they are older, are not actually wiser. Yes, with age you gain wisdom, but you are not necessarily wiser just by virtue of the fact that you are older. However, it is a high likelihood that the older you get, the more you know, the more wisdom you do have, especially if you're one of those people who are observational. So I think a lot of you are like that. I think you guys observe life, you listen, you watch people, you take notes, you try and see patterns. I think that then you become wiser by absorbing life. And I know that you probably have gained so much wisdom throughout your life already up to date. But I do have a small problem with watching these 20-something-year-old YouTubers doing these kinds of videos, giving life advice, or some of them telling you how to be more confident or telling you how to do X, Y, Z in life, and they're only 20. Now, I will say, I'm not saying that they can't give advice on an area that they know something about, but just be careful when you take advice from anyone under 35, maybe even under 40. It does take time to mature and develop. Even if you know something, you don't fully know that thing until you are older and wise. And I don't even think I'm that old and wise. At 46, what I do know for sure is that I don't know much. I know people don't change. You can't change people. You can only hope to influence or inspire by example if you're lucky. And most old people actually do die not much wiser than when they were middle-aged. A lot of people just remain the same, stuck in the same ruts. You need to actually actively seek out knowledge, seek out wisdom. So it's the people that read philosophy and that try different things and that want to explore different viewpoints and learn, those are the people who grow and become wise. The other thing I can say for sure, the thing I've learned, and this applies to me, and I'm not saying it will apply to you, but I do think it applies to most people, is that movement, daily movement, a daily physical practice of some sort is so helpful. You've probably heard this over and over and over and over again on YouTube. But I do know people who don't move, who are not active, and that's fine. That seems to work for them if it's who they are. They just don't want to run, they don't want to walk, they don't want to dance, swim, jog, hike, whatever. That's fine. But I have found for me, and the weird part is I wasn't active in high school at all. I was not fit. I was not an athlete. The weird part is that I found athletics or activity as an adult, and it has changed my life. It is the one thing that has changed my life, is having an almost daily, I always try and believe in one day of full rest, but an almost daily, or at least 5 days a week, 6 days a week of some form of activity, even if it is stretching or walking, something gentle, weight training, running, biking, swimming, dancing. What other activities are there? So many. Cycling, hiking in the woods. Some kind of daily activity is so powerful. It gives you discipline. It helps you stay in tune with your body. It helps you obviously burn calories, which is the least important part. It staves off depression. It staves off illness to come. It is just such an integral part. And in our modern society, unfortunately, with the long work hours, everyone's stuck behind a desk, we are losing touch with our physical selves, and it is a shame. And I know it's hard to find the time, but it's so important. You've heard it before. I just have to drive that point home anyway, because it is true. The next thing I've realized in 46 years of being alive on this planet is that who you spend time with, who you let into your life, the relationships in your life really do matter. And the people you spend the most time with are the people who have the most influence on you. So whilst you can't fire your family or get rid of them, some people you have to have in your life, whether they are good for you or not. You can limit the amount of time with them, but who you pick and choose to be in your life, your partner, your friends, really consider this as a huge thing. It is the most important thing. The person you spend the most time with, probably your spouse or your partner, they have the most influence on you. They do. They influence your mental state. They influence how you spend your money, how you spend your time, who you hang out with. It is the most critical decision. The other thing I've learned is that reading books doesn't actually change your life unless you really soak in and take in those lessons and apply them. I have read hundreds, countless, millions of self-help books. No, not millions, thousands. And not a single one of them has changed my life. In fact, the things that have changed my life have come from events in my life, things like losing my father, the passing away of my father, having a child. That is a life-changing event that will rock your whole world. If you have more than one child, children change your life. Big life events change your life. Moving countries changes your life. But reading books, self-help, development, philosophy, all kinds of books, they can slowly change your thinking. And over time, it's small, incremental little changes. It might just open a door in your mind and you think, interesting thought. And then you read another book and you think, I like that thought too. So I would say reading books doesn't change my whole life, but reading books is so valuable. It is so valuable. I highly recommend it. So to my 15-year-old son, if he ever watches this, read some more. You won't find that it changes. I mean, I've read so many money books, but I'm still in the same financial position I was. But it changes your thinking over time. So I think over time, you make just one better decision, just one less bad choice, just one choice to invest a bit more, save a bit more, cut back here, earn a bit more, call that investor, call that financial advisor, set up a retirement savings plan, all these small actions. There's no major change. Same with psychology books, same with self-help improvement books, relationship books. You make small little changes and then you see how they play out. And like everything in life. I mean, you know this, you've heard this on YouTube 1,000 times, but it's these small, incremental, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly habits, the things that you do over time. They do compound, they do add up to a certain kind of a life. And so, yeah, I think we watch videos like this and we want the big change, the big advice. What is that big lesson you can give me that will just change things around for me? And I'm sorry to say there isn't. What really counts in life is who you are. So spend a lot of time working on getting to know yourself, working on yourself, spending time with yourself, and take the time out to get comfortable being alone. I have found the biggest growth for me inside of myself was the periods in my life when I was single or alone, or living alone, navigating life on my own. Not to say that you want to stay in that period forever, unless that suits you, and that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But time alone, whether it's every day for an hour, or once a week for a full day, or you're single and you're alone for a year, that is when you get to know your true self. You can only truly be your real self with yourself when you're alone and you get to know yourself, and then you can express that true self out to the world. When we are young and we are still forming and developing, it's always the opinions of others that are molding us and changing us and shaping us, and we want to be something for the world, to others. How do we look to others? I see this in my teenage boy. The whole expression of himself is, you're very concerned with what others think. So it's only when you spend quiet time on your own, alone, getting to know yourself, that your true self emerges. And it is so vital. I don't want you to overlook it. If you can carve out quiet time in your day to be alone, to meditate, walk alone, please do that. It's so important. I cannot overstate it. The other life lesson is that you will have regrets. You just will. It's totally part of life. It's normal. So don't try and live without regrets. It's totally normal. Also, don't worry about wasting your life. There are actually no wrong turns. If you take a turn, you've taken that turn. That's your path. That's your life. That's where you're at. Also, when it comes to making a decision about something, please, please, please try not to agonize endlessly and relentlessly to the point where you are paralyzed. This one hits hard for me because I have done that when I was young. I see my son struggle with that. He finds it very hard to make a decision because of the what if, what if, what ifs. Often in life, there is no right choice. It's just a choice. It takes you, I mean, you are still you. Whether you're doing A or you are doing B, you are still yourself. So it almost doesn't matter. Look, it does matter when it comes to the people that you let into your life. That is a big choice. It does matter, but there are ways of making these choices, writing pros and cons lists, thinking about the inevitable sort of consequences of your actions. That's fine. Do that. Do that. But then when you reach the end of that road, like if I do this, and then I do that, then I do that, or you go the other path, if I do this, then that, you look at the two outcomes, and if they are not so different, I mean, sometimes you can just toss a coin. And if they are very different, try and feel what your gut is telling you. I know that's the worst advice. It's like, I don't know what my gut's telling me, because if I knew what it was telling me, I'd freaking well do it. But I think the quieter and the stiller you get, and the more time you just have to meditate on that choice, the more you will know if it is the right choice. And if you don't know if it's the right choice or not, maybe there is no right or wrong answer. Maybe it really doesn't matter which direction you take. And honestly, for a lot of things, it really doesn't matter. So don't agonize every little choice. Get on with your life. Just get on with the doing and the living of your life, but also take time to meditate. And then, of course, I have to end off with the most obvious part of life, but the one that we don't want to look at all, the impermanence of life, the fact that we are all going to die. Look, that didn't take me 46 years to realize, but it's taken me up until now to really let that sink in. And it sinks in when you hit this age, because honestly, I've got more years behind me than I do ahead of me. And so I've kind of like come to realize, like, oh shit, I am going to die, and it's going to be soon, because 46 years have passed. It felt like that. And I've only probably realistically got, 39, 40 years ahead of me, if I look at the average life expectancy of a Western female. So that's a sobering thought, and it goes fast. And I know when you're young, you hear all the old people say, life goes by so fast. When you're young, you've got so little behind you and so much in front of you that doesn't compute. It doesn't sink in. But what I can tell you is that you don't need life advice. You just have to live. You just have to be in the stage you're at. And you don't actually even need to try and be in the stage you're at, because you're in the stage you're at. And these realizations, they just come, especially if you are an open-minded individual, which I'm assuming you are. So chasing life advice, chasing wisdom as well, which I see as a trend on YouTube. There's these channels, life advice from the 90-year-olds. This 100-year-old's life advice will change your world. I've watched those channels. I've read that Gladys, whatever her name is, that old Gladdy, she wrote a book. What's her name? Gladys something. I mean, her book wasn't full of wisdom. It was great, but there is no wisdom greater than any other wisdom you've heard already. It's all out there. There's nothing new to be said in life. And that is the one thing I have learned at 46, is that there is really nothing new to learn or to be said. The wisdom is out there. It's in every philosophy book. It's in every religious text. If you read it deeply, there is all the life wisdom. It's all here on YouTube too. But what you need to do is to cultivate that inner knowing for yourself. And you do that through simply living your life, being in yourself, in your life as it is. Don't worry about other people's lives. Don't try and live their life. You need to live your life with the people you have in your life, in the country you're in the moment in time you are in the body you are in. So you really have to, you've got to come to accept where you are, who you are with. Only then can you possibly make changes, if change is right for you. But you can only do it from a place of total, complete acceptance of the here and now. I am here in this body, in this country, in this time, in this space, in this world. And that's probably the wisest thing I could say. And enjoy. Enjoy your life, because it goes by so fast. In the flash, in the blink of an eye, it will all soon be over. So nothing that wise, but try not to get so burdened and heavied by your thoughts. I do, it happens all the time, it's very natural. But try and just let the lightness in all the time. That is the best way and the only way to enjoy your life. See you guys in the next video. Bye.